Now, with tensions currently based on Iran over the recent tanker incident and now the spy drone that was just recently shot down earlier today, the Trump administration has been and is very silent on their plans for Venezuela. Now, again, this was after the failed coup against Venezuelan leader Maduro. Now, you guys remember when he was focusing on Venezuela? Oh, Maduro is oppressing his people. We need solutions. We're going to put military options on the table. We have to free the oppressed Venezuelan people. We are going to put our support behind, Juan Guaido, right? Of the opposition. You know, the guy that just decided, hey, I'm just going to declare myself president of Venezuela. Right. So you guys remember that. Given that it was only a couple of weeks ago, I know the news goes fast, but wow. Well, apparently, and thankfully I might add, it appears the administration has given up its goals for regime change in the region, at least right now. And thank goodness, because look, I'm not a fan of Maduro, you guys know that. But because regime change wars are nasty and usually terrible for everyone not named ExxonMobil or Raytheon. Now, according to the Washington Post, President Trump has lost interest in Venezuela after the bid to remove Nicolas Maduro had failed. According to U.S. officials who spoke to the Post, Trump had viewed the prospect of a U.S.-backed toppling Maduro as, quote, an easy win at a time when other foreign policy initiatives had stalled. So this kind of gets into the reasoning that he's sort of forgotten about it, or pretty much let it go. A former administration official speaking on condition of anonymity told the publication that Trump had always thought of Venezuela as, quote, low-hanging fruit on which he could, quote, get a win and tout it as a major foreign policy victory. It'll be easy. We just go in, and we go in and we take out Maduro, and then we get the oil. Oh, my God. Really? Wow. Okay. Now, the official said, quote, 5 or 6 months later, it's not coming together. And, well, thank goodness for that. Hey, nobody knew how complicated regime change was. Nobody could have known. Nobody. Now, of course, when it fell apart, current and former officials, and this is fun, told the Post that Trump had, quote, chewed out National Security Advisor John Bolton and Latin American Policy Director Mauricio Claver Carron because they, quote, got played by both U.S.-backed opposition leader Juan Guaido and Maduro regime figures who claimed to have supported ousting Maduro, which of course did not happen. Some of the members of the military said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna back Guaido, and we're gonna topple Maduro, and it's gonna be real easy." You know, every time they try to get us into these regime change wars, neocons, they always say the same thing. Oh, it'll be so easy. They'll greet us as liberators. They're going to throw roses at our feet. And, of course, it never happens. Of course. And thankfully, in this case, never had a chance to happen. Thank goodness. Right? But anyway, since then, the issue has largely fallen off Donald Trump's radar, with the president last mentioning Venezuela on June 4th, when he claimed that Russian forces had withdrawn from the country. So now, at least thanks to Trump getting basically bored with the whole thing and not getting his easy win, which of course is because regime change a little bit harder than he thought, he's no longer going for regime change. So I guess, in a way, that's kind of a win. Which, of course, this is much to the chagrin of Mike Pompeo and John Bolton. But unfortunately, with Iran, they've got a new shiny to play with. And that could end up being a disaster as well. But this kind of shows you how on the precipice we are. How close we are to just utter disaster because we have a baby in charge. On the one hand, again, you don't know what the baby's going to do. On the one hand, baby could decide, it's not a good idea to go in there, after all, because it's not a win. It's not so easy. On the other hand, they might be able to convince the baby that it's in his best interest to do something that could be an absolute disaster. I don't know. I can only hope that that throughout the length of Trump's hopefully final year in office, that we can continue to avoid a war, and that somebody doesn't find out a way to get the baby to do what he wants, to manipulate the child sitting in the Oval Office. Because once somebody figures out how to be the Trump whisperer and mend him and manipulate him to their will, well, I mean, if that happens, it's going to be disastrous. So, and it's assuming, of course, that they do not have good intentions. And I think that's a safe assumption for a lot of the people still in Trump's orbit. So, we got to get rid of this guy. Look, impeach him, 25th Amendment, or elect, or just beating him in the election. I don't care how you get him out. You just got to get him out. We got to get him out. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.